Synergy SMD and Up meeting, and oh, hi Velvet. How you doing? You guys match? You guys you too, Dean. Is that something you guys are in? Right? It's a team. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. Blue. Cool. We had an SMD meeting the other day. Was it the other day? A few months ago, and and then we had a meeting with the president of WFG and Tom Dempsey, right? He's a Marine, Steve. That's what reminded. He grew up he grew up all over because his dad was in the Marines for over 20 or 30 plus years, and he said, so you know the way I grew up, but he's a really good dude, right? Our new president, and there's going to be some new bombshell now. How many guys have been here less than a month? Right? How many of you guys have been here less than 3 months? Right? How many of you guys less than 6 months? Right? Were you still kind of doubting this? Don't worry. Put on your sunglasses because your future is bright. Right? Your future is bright here. So just everything's going to be okay. Right? Everything's going to be okay. Things are never as bad as it seems, and things are never as good as it seems. Right? And you just got to stay. You just got to stay calm. You got to stay even. Right? Even killed. Right? Okay. So what were we talking about? So we were having dinner, right, with the president, and me and Christopher were sitting next to each other, and we just chatted. You know, the president was there, but me and Christopher just chatted for the whole hour, and we had a blast, right? Talking about different things, from the things we enjoy, and growing up in the business, and Christopher is an incredible dude, right? And I think you guys are really blessed and fortunate to have that leadership here in guiding you. And so you guys are really blessed and fortunate, and that's something I wouldn't take for lightly. I know there's power in proximity, right? And you can either get too close to leadership, where you become deaf in the ears, right? Where you stop listening, right? How many of you guys have kids in the room? Yeah. How many of your kids stop listening to you, right? So make sure you don't stop listening to your leader. Right? Make sure you don't stop listening to your leader, and I don't know that you should ever get to a point where you should stop, right? I think humility in business, right? Humility in business and humility all the way to the top is something you should always keep with you, right? Because the minute you think you know everything, that's the minute you start turning the other direction, right? Which the other direction of up is what? Down. Is down, and who wants to go down? No. Right? Nobody? You sure? Right? Then you gotta keep humility in the forefront of what you do. You guys with me? Yeah. And so, all right, let's, you can mirror it. Okay,
General
let's do it. Just right here.
Yeah.
Hook me up.
Team Freedom. Wi-Fi's Transamerica.
All right, give your neighbor a high five. Let her know, hey, I'm a champ. You're a champion. Give him another high five. Let him know, hey, I'm a champion.
All champions.
Hi, Tan.
Give him another high five. Let him know, I know. I know. Give him another high five. I know I'm a champion. Right? And then look back at them and let them know. But it's always great to be reminded. How do I make that bigger? There you go. All right. So Nate Ireton, how many of you guys have heard from me before? Know my story? Yeah. How many of you guys don't? And then how many of you guys just don't really care? That's okay too. Right? That's okay too. You know, the longer you're in business, the more opinions you have of you, and then the longer you're in business, the more I don't care. Does that make sense? But I want you to win, and I appreciate you guys being here on a Saturday morning, and I hope I bring in some value here today to help you guys bring your business to the next level. But all right, if you have anything good to say, you can say it. If not, then keep it to yourself. All right. So this is pretty cool. So this is when this is probably when Jim Maloney met me, right? That dude on the left. That's called 40 pounds lighter. I just weighed myself this morning. It's the heaviest I've been, but I've been on a 2-week. I've been on my diet. I was telling one of my buddies who's good. Who's a what do you call that? Personal trainer. I said, hey, I've cut out carbs. I haven't had sugar. I haven't had dessert. I said, how come I still weigh the same? It's been 2 weeks. Is that normal or?
Keto takes 2 months.
2 months. Okay. All right. 2 months. All right. And then this is when we actually have. I think Paul went up to our suite and challenged us to make $500,000, right? And hit CEO. And a few months later, we nailed it. But to the other side there is my brother. And you know what happens too over time, you know, you start winning in business, you start to look cooler, right? You start to look cooler but you know, growing up in I was telling this a group of people the other day, growing up in high school, right? You guys know I barely graduated, right? So it's me and my 3 brothers. I got my younger brother who's in business with me. I got my older brother, and my younger brother didn't look up to me or Paul. Right? Just because we were horrible in school, right? I had 150 hours of detention I needed to make up. It just, I just wasn't interested. Does that make sense? I just wasn't interested. I didn't apply myself. But you know, when I came across WFG, right? I can't bring in the same attitude I brought there that I bring here, right? I can't sit in the back of the classroom and expect to win, right? And so everything I did, I had to start changing. I had to start to switch. I go, man, what do leaders do? They sit in the front, they walk faster, they talk faster, they eat faster, right? They're on a different pace. And so I knew that if I applied myself the way I did back in school here, I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna win. And so my attitude had to shift completely, right? And so came across this opportunity. I went to school in DeVry here in Pomona, and that's where I came across WFG. They had a career fair there. And I came across WFG, right? Best thing that happened to me, not the education I got from DeVry, right? But I dropped out after 1.25 years, because I can't remember what I learned, right? Because I didn't apply myself, right? But when I came across something I enjoy and something I could be passionate about, really when I met Steve Hague, I felt like I got this covered, right? And here's why though. Here's why. Deep down inside, I was looking. I don't know what it is. Right? But I was looking for a shot to do something big. I was looking for a shot. I was looking to do something with my life, and I wanted to do it big. And I happened to be at the right place at the right time and met the right people, right? And thank God the Hagues were there. And right, one of the blessings that Steve and that's me and Precious, right? But one of the blessings that Steve Hague gave into me is he poured belief into me. He poured belief into me. And a lot of times in the beginning, right, we come into the business where we lack belief in ourselves, and one of the roles and one of the keys he played is the Hague family always believed in me, right? And then sooner or later you realize, oh, you know what, they're right, right? And then you start buying the press, but not too much, right? Because when you buy the press too much, right, and you don't let it get to your head, James, I'm not saying anything about you, right? But I'm just saying, all right. Okay. But that's like, I'm almost embarrassed to put that up there, right? That's me, right? But you can start winning in business, and then right, you can. That's our office down in Monrovia, and one of the captions I have on there is what we call what? Think big. If you take a look at what's the difference. Right? What's the difference with you doing mediocre here or you doing something extraordinary? Is your ability. If you look at some of the greatest people, right? Some of the greatest builders to ever come out of WFG, right? If you look at the difference, because what? They go, Nate, well, they have leadership skills. Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of people that, like, you take a look at Milet, or Swan, or Hubert, or what else? Eric Olson, right? What do they have all in common? Well, they all have vision. They all can what? Leadership. What else? What else what qualities do you think you need to have to make it big in our company? Focus, right? They all have focus. What else?
Confidence.
They all have great identity, right? What else?
Big vision.
They have big vision. What else?
They're hungry.
Right? They're hungry, right? So they can all have that. But the edge that takes you from here to here, what do you think it is? It's your ability to think big. Because you're only going to work hard. You're only going to get as far as your ability to think big. Right? And then that's when we were brand new SMDs. Right? Again, Nate 40 pounds lighter. Right? Between the two co-founders of the company. And I was so gun shy that I stood there and didn't say anything. Right? I think I was 24 years old at the time. I was 24 years old, and I stood there gun shy. I didn't say a word to Rich nor Monty, right? Just because I was shocked. I didn't know what I was doing at SMD Academy, right? Back then, when the company wasn't that big, right? And then this is if you go to home office, right? If you go to home office, they have a picture of all the SMDs out there, and that's me and Paul right there. Right, he also weighed 50 pounds lighter.
Yeah, you look great.
Yeah, I look great. Yeah. And then that's the start of our career, right? That's our first. That's when all your leadership found us, right? And then some of our winning moments. This is the BPM where we awarded my younger brother his ring, right? Which is pretty cool. So we're the only 3 brothers in WFG that have our rings. Right, which is pretty cool, and I didn't know that, but Jeff Levitan told me that in the bathroom, right? He did, right? We were in convention and we met eyes and right congratulated me, and I said, for what? He said, well, you guys are the only 3 brothers in WFG that are ring earners, right? But there's a far gap. There's a far gap of his ring between our ring, right? And so we got to fix that, right? We got to fix that. But he's making an aggressive move to $250,000. Right, he used to be a pilot for 9 years, and he got burnt out. And he's the last person on planet Earth that I would think that would do the business. So how many of you guys have family or brothers and sisters? Right, don't give up hope on them. Right? He showed up one day. Right, he's probably he's the most stubborn of the 3. Right, and he's not here to defend himself, so I'm okay to say that. But he's the most stubborn of the 3. But he showed up one day, right? I think this was about 7 years ago. He showed up one day, but we were expanding in Northern California. Our family up north were coming to business with us, our aunts, uncles, cousins, and all that stuff. One of my uncles, who was an SMD, actually already passed away. But it's pretty neat how WFG provided him the time to be able to cater to his needs. He went through some major health, and it was crazy. He survived 2 years longer than when he was supposed to, right? Just because he was so mentally tough. Right? He was so mentally tough. But he came out in Northern California when we were opening up an office out there to support us. And this was like 7 years. We're 7 years deep into the business, and we're doing a corporate overview, and it's literally the first time he hears me speak. Okay. And then when we come back up north, down south, he disappears for a week. Right? And then he showed up one day, right? He showed up to the office all excited, right? And I'm like, Hiram, what are you doing here? He said, guess what? I said, what? He said, I'm licensed. I said, what do you mean you're licensed? Why? And then the next question I had was, why? Right? How many of you guys are like dying to get licensed agents here, right?
Yes.
I'm questioning like, why? Right? What do you think my second question was? Who are you going direct to? Right? Who are you going direct to? And he's like, of course, my mom. Right? So my mom's in business with me too. My mom has 4 SMDs. My mom should get her ring here the next 90 days. Right? My mom should crack a 6-figure income. And after 6 years in business, she writes her first app. Right? My Paul coached her how to write a rollover. Right? But she wrote her first app in 6 years. she got 4 SMDs and never written an app, never field trained, never did any of that. How does that happen? Right? How does that happen? But you take a look at, you know, the power of our business, you guys. The power of our business is how many of you guys have people around you that you care about? Right? So my mom has never, I mean, she worked a little bit, right, in the employee world, and then she worked in the self-employed world for a little bit, but she doesn't have a pension. There is no Social Security for my mom. So guess who her Social Security is?
You guys.
Yeah, her kids, right? So we're either going to work hard and give her some money or what? Or build her a business, right? Which is pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. She's gone right now. She's in the Philippines. She's been there for like 2-3 weeks. I don't know when she's coming back. Last month, she made $32,000 in our company.
Wow.
Overrides, 100%. No, maybe 95%, because I remember I told you guys she wrote her first app. So 95% in overrides. Is that cool or what?
Yeah.
The stuff that you can do for your family if you just decide, right, to get after it, if you make a decision and get clear about your future and what you want out of this deal. You guys, this is the #1 business platform, right? For you to go change your family's life forever, right? You just got to make a decision. You go, hey, I belong here, and we're going to the top. At some point in your career, you got to make that decision. 1, I belong here. Number 2, hey, I'm going to the top. There is no other deal out there, you guys, and a lot of your veterans and a lot of your leadership that's been here forever, you guys. If there was anything else better out there, we would have been there already. But there isn't, and there is a bunch of copycats out there, right? Trying to copy the right cat, because we are the right cat. Do you want a second-rated version of WFG, or a third or a fourth version? There's a whole bunch out there. But you take a look at it, like, if you had any common sense, right? If you had any common sense, every company, right, when they get to a point, 98%, well, 90% of all businesses that start fail in business within their first 5 years. The next, another 90% don't make it past 10 years. So what does that tell you? Only 2% of businesses that ever start make it past a decade. And one of the major reasons, same thing you guys, WFG went through a growth curve, right? Went through a growth curve where at some point it needed some big money. It needed some big assets, some big capital to sustain it to go past a decade. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so all these rinky-dink companies, right, are going to go through that same phase. Well, if they want to grow and they want to get to the next level, they need some big money to back them up. Guess what? We have a great relationship with Aegon. And part of Tom Dempsey coming in, right, and our CEO Dave Polson is much closer to Aegon. Therefore, if we want money, we can get to it a lot faster. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What's his face? Joe DePaulo had to go through a couple of different layers to get the money. Well, Dave Polson has a direct link to money through Aegon with a $500 billion firm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You go, what are you doing, right? Well, you're only backed up by a $500 billion company, right? And guess what? And they believe in WFG. And really, when they mean WFG is the crown jewel of Aegon, it really is. It really is. So, everything is already in place. And you guys, wait till you hear the stuff that's coming out in convention. How many of you guys registered for convention? Right? Yeah, how many of you guys are not? Okay, go slap them real quick. Slap them real quick. It doesn't make any sense, right? I'll forgive you, but no, I'm not. You're not forgiven, right? Go get registered, right? If you want to go change your life, right? Well, actually, no. If you want to win, go register. If you don't want to win, don't register, right? Stay here. Stay home. Because that's also a choice you can make, right? That's also a choice you can make, whether to go or not to go, right? And if you want to be okay and, right, have an average career here, then don't go, right? Am I being too mean? No, I think I'm just being direct with you, right? And I'm just telling you like it is, right? And I like direct conversation. Just tell me what I need to do and what not to do. So winning is going to convention. Losing is you not going to convention. It's simple as that, right? Well, Nate, I've been there 5 times. I said, well, obviously it hasn't gone through your coconut yet. Maybe your skull is too thick, and maybe you need to hear it a couple more times for it to stick and for it to go through. Or maybe you need to bump your head so your coconut can crack when information comes in, it goes through. You go, man, this Nate guy is pretty mean. All right. Remember I told you guys, I pre-framed you guys?
Yeah.
That I don't care? As long as you guys win, because I care more about you winning than I care about what you guys think about me. And so hopefully that my message I give today, by the way, I care about this team and I care about this leadership, and if I didn't care about it, I'd give you guys a softer conversation. Alright. Well, we're talking about winning here, right?
Yes.
Alright, that's why you guys invited me?
Yes.
Okay. If you guys don't like me, tell your leadership. Alright. I don't think you get to the top, right? I don't think you get to the top. And one of the things you guys I'm blessed with is I'm blessed with some pretty great people, right? We have about 21 SMDs now. We have about 21 SMDs, and they're all talented in their own right, in their own way, and they bring something to the table, right? A bunch of them. I'm not like, anyways, they all bring something to the table. Right, and the thing about having a team is they cover your weaknesses, and I have a bunch of them. But with enough people around you, my team, right, the team makes me look better than I actually am. They cover up a bunch of my flaws, right? This is we have a ton of fun. Right, this is our grand opening at our Monrovia office. This is us playing some sports. I love sports. Right, one of the things, if WFG didn't exist, I'd be an athlete. Why are you guys laughing? I know I don't have the physical part of it, but that's really what I wanted to do. If I wasn't for WFG, I'd be an athlete, right? I understand like the mentality of it. Like I was telling somebody the other day, if I was built a little bit taller and a little bit bigger, I said, because I think sports is more, yes, the physical ability, but the other one is the mental. But I kill a bunch of people with my mental ability. Right? But what's awesome about WFG, I think in business, right? I think sport athletes need to be more business-like, and more business people need to be more athlete-like. So guess what? Right? I train like I'm an athlete, but I'm a business guy. Because I'm a business athlete. Alright. And so every now and then, we get to do some pretty cool things. Right? Some pretty cool things. Although I was not drafted with the Lakers, right? You weren't either? Where's that at stuff? Down there? No, it's not on here. I should have put it on here.
Where's the picture?
Huh? Where?
The other way.
The other way. Up?
Keep on. One more.
Oh, right there. Yeah. There you go. Right. So although I wasn't drafted by the Lakers. But who said you can't play at the Staples Center? Who says you can't play at the Staples Center? Who says you can't have referees referee you to play at the Staples? Like we've done that 3 times already. Is that pretty cool? Yeah. Like once you start, when you can do all the cool stuff, right? Here, this right here. Where is that? Am I like? That's cool. That's the Staples Center. We'll go back there, right there. So we've done some pretty cool things, right? We've rented like a 10,000 square foot mansion in Malibu, right on the ocean, and we just had a blast, right? We were at a contest there. We've been to Hawaii many times, right? This is like I've had Porsches and Audi S7s and all that, but that's my favorite car, right? I traded that in for my Tesla, so I go from like electric to like, let's eat up all the gas. And so that's my favorite car. It's so versatile. It can do so many things, right? It can do so many things, and so which is pretty cool. My truck. You know, my first car I ever had was a truck. It was a Chevy S10 that was completely gutless. It was a 4-cylinder. It was stick shift, and he couldn't even make it up the hill. How many of you guys, you know, our office used to be in Pomona, right? There's a climb there on Grand Avenue, right, to climb up. My truck couldn't even make it up that hill, right? And then especially like it's like barely trying to get up there, and I'd be so afraid when the light turns red, because my car is stick shift, and not only is it stick, it had no power. And I'm watching I'm looking at the rear view mirror, right, and people shaking their head and all that stuff, right? And now I got a monster truck, right? Get out the way, right? Well, you can go from a sucky truck to a good truck, right? And so, anyways, all right. Lifestyle. This is pretty cool. We rented a 60-passenger bus. We ran a match-up contest, right? Where we rented a 60-passenger bus and we shut down a restaurant. We shut down a restaurant. Right? Some of the cool things you get to. How many of you guys want to do some cool things? All right. By the way, winning in WFG and living the WFG lifestyle, right, is one of the best lives you can ever live. Because you can create it, you can live it by design. Right? And guess what? And you got a whole bunch of people to go enjoy it with. You can win a whole bunch of other things, but you have nobody to enjoy it with. Right? How many of you guys work at corporate America or have ever worked at corporate America? Right? Let me ask you this. Has any of your boss done stuff like this for you?
No.
Let me ask you another question. Has any of your boss invited you to their house?
No.
They wouldn't invite us to dinner, like maybe a company dinner, that's all.
They'll never invite you to your house because once you get to their house, they look at how nice their house is, and then when they get back to the office on Monday morning, you'll ask them for a raise. Right? And so it's only lonely at the top because you're the only one there. Right? There's no selling the dream. Right? In our business, yeah, we invite you to our houses on all the things that we get a chance to do because what? We want to inspire you to get there. Right? What's awesome about our business is your leadership has vested in every vested interest in you for you to win. Every vested interest for you to win. And so whatever excites you, right? We do stuff to like sell you the dream, right? To motivate you, to inspire you to do more. All right. And then we travel the world, which is pretty awesome, right? So leadership, you gotta have some pretty cool leadership. That's me and Jeff on this in Hawaii, right? You know, Jeff got recruited in Chino, right? He got recruited in the Chino office. It was on a Sunday. It was like on a normal Sunday afternoon, right? And then they were ready to walk in on a Sunday afternoon. And it was a 10-minute conversation. He puts his hand down. You go, hey, I'm ready to go, right? And then one of the fastest in WFG to go from training associate to EVC, right? Which is pretty cool. And obviously I had some help in the beginning, because if I look young now, imagine 7 years ago, I even look younger, right? And I know Jim's really young, so I needed help from Jim and Christopher. And I needed some older credibility, right? Which is awesome about having a team. Right, is some older credibility. But he was also my first field training appointment with Steve Haig. When I was 20, 21 years old, and Steve was 26, 27, and at that time I think he was in his early 40s, and he's like, what are these two kids going to tell me about business that I don't already know, right? And so he did nothing with us. But I continued to follow up, and 7 years later, 7 years deep into my career, right, he comes into business with us, right? But here's the deal, you guys. Here's the deal. A lot of times, like the people that are closest to you, right, your family, your friends, they're just waiting on you to be serious. See, there's part in business where we have fun and there's humor. That's part of it. But part of business is also where you start taking yourself seriously, because other people won't take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously. You guys with me?
Yes.
And so when the people around you start to see it, you go, man, oh wow, Heather's not messing around. She's serious. We better support her. Because when she gets to the top, right? Our business is like the more successful you are, the more relatives you have. So we better support Heather now, because she's serious. There's a saying out there, right? If you're not there for the story, right, then don't be there for, then you, what's that? The glory, right? You guys know what I mean? And so, all right. By the way, you don't need to know all these motivational quotes for you to win here. You can know none of them and still win here. But if it helps you and inspires you, then go for it. All right. So let's talk. You guys ready to talk?
Yeah.
All right. Number one, this is a contact sport. This is a contact sport. But here's what's awesome. It's not a physical sport, right? Nobody's gonna punch you while you're in the field. Right? You're not gonna get hurt, right? Nobody's gonna threaten your family, right? Nobody's gonna do all that stuff, right? And so you gotta emotionally desensitize yourself, right? Write that down. Emotionally desensitize yourself. Remember, I told you you can't be too emotional in our business. I used to think, oh, right, that's a challenge for women, but I think it's a challenge for both. Right? Men can kind of get pretty emotional now too. Right? And so I think you got to emotionally desensitize yourself, and you got to detach yourself from emotions. Right? And so one is when you recruit somebody brand new in your company, you can't fall in love with them too quick. Right? Let me ask you this: do you fall in love with every person you meet right away?
No.
Then why do you do that with your new business partner? Oh my gosh! I have my next superstar. Right? Why do you do that with your business partner? Right? You gotta have them earn the right. You gotta have them work for them to give you the right for you to fall in love with them. Right? But you praise them like they're the next superstar, but you act like they're quitting tomorrow. Right? So what does that mean? What does that mean? You pour belief into him, and you continue to encourage him and praise him and do all that stuff. But then your butts you gotta get taprooted. Alright. So this is a contact sport. So because it's a contact sport, you gotta master the language, and then you gotta master the art of getting referrals. Right? That was something I struggled with early on, and I got better with it over time. So when you're making phone calls, right, you should get 1 to 2 names. What does that mean? When someone tells you they're not interested, well, great, who do you know? Right, so say that with me. Who do you know?
Who do you know?
Who do you know?
Who do you know?
Say that. Who do you know?
Who do you know?
Okay, and then after that, there's 2 types of recruiting. By the way, there's you know what we're going to talk about today? Recruiting.
Awesome.
You're liking that? Because that's the only way. Let me ask you. I'm gonna pause this for a second. But let me ask you guys a question, right? Let me ask you guys a question. What would happen to the, like, Steve, you're in the military, right? What would happen to the military if they stopped recruiting today? Like, that's it. They can never recruit another soldier.
It'd be over pretty quick.
It'd be over pretty quick. So the military relies on new talent and new drafts to come in to go replace those that are getting older. Let me ask you this then. How many of you guys played sports? Those of you guys that played sports, what would happen in sports? What would happen to the NFL or the NBA if they stopped drafting every single year? What would happen? Imagine they played the guys that are playing now until their body parts fell apart. What would happen to the NBA if they stopped drafting? So what do you think would happen to your business if you stop drafting? Wow. So every business, every church group, every organization, every nonprofit, every business group, sports, you name it, military branch, has to what?
Recruit.
Without it, it what? Wow. So what do you think you gotta do? So our number one job here, right? Our number one job is to look for talent. Our number one job is to look for talent. But let me ask you another question, right? Can you spot talent right away?
No.
A lot of times, no. Why? Because there's never been a test, nor will they design one to measure the heart of a person. Right? For all Steve knew, I was some dumb kid, right? Didn't know anything about anything. I still don't know why he got me into the business. But what if he never approached me? What if he never gave me a shot? What if he never gave me a chance? Because I was shy, bro, introverted. and I had a lot of doubts whether I could or ever would do this. What if? Thousands of people would not be helped today. Thousands and thousands of people would not be helped today. So who are you to judge someone whether or not they should be in the company? See, a lot of you guys have filters. Oh, you go, oh, nah, no, oh, definitely not. Right? So some of you guys create the objection for your people. They're not even making the objection. You're making it for them. You're making it for them. You go, oh, he's too rich. He's too successful. Right? Oh, he's too broke. Oh, he's too small. Oh, he doesn't even look like the part. Right? Every single person, regardless of who they are, what their background is, is looking for WFG. They just don't know it yet. Every single person, they don't know it yet. So some of the people that I've met, I'm recruiting a guy into WFG, right, that makes a 7-figure income. What does that mean? He makes over $1 million a year. What do you think he doesn't have? Time. Right? He doesn't have time. So I go, if I can show you a way to still make a 7-figure income but have your time, is there any reason why we wouldn't have a conversation? Because one thing you don't have is what? By the way, much more money we can spend, we can make, and we can always make back. But one thing we don't have is what? Time. It's the number one asset we have. It's your number one resource, which is time. And so, would you like to have that conversation, right? So we're in the process. Obviously, he's got a pretty big thing, and his wife wants certain things before he makes that transition, but he's pretty dead serious about making that transition. But yet, you're afraid to talk to the guy at the counter, right, at the register, trying to do your thing. You're afraid to talk to... By the way, the more successful they are, the more open they are. And then you talk to all your broke friends. I go, they're broke for a reason. Right? Typically, in the dictionary, you don't find someone like, if you look up successful, it doesn't say successful, and then the link up next to it says skeptical. It just doesn't happen. Right? You'll never meet a rich skeptical person. Because they didn't get to the top being skeptical. They got there open-minded. Right? Willing and able. Alright, how did we get there? What were we talking about?
We're talking about sports.
So we're talking about contact sport, right? So anyway, recruiting is not a sometime thing, it's an all the time thing. Write that down. Recruiting is not a sometime thing, it's an all the time thing. Your number one job here is to look for talent. Right, so you got to look at every BPM, right? Every BPM is draft day, right? Are you drafting? So if every BPM there's no guess, right? Or you're not doing one-on-ones during the week, you're not drafting anybody into your business, right? And so you got to look at it as drafting. You got to harness. All right, we'll go back to this stuff. I got to connect mirror. General training. Okay, we're good there. Okay. So back to contact sports, right? All right, there you go. So phone calls, right? When you're making phone calls, so get used to saying where you at, right? Because sometimes we fall in love so much with the person that we're talking to, that we don't go, okay, next. Well, if not you, then who do you know? Not you, then who do you know? Who do you know that's? So there's two types of recruiting. One is what I call general, right? Which is meaning you have them go through the numbers, and we'll talk about some numbers here in a little bit. Right, we'll go through some numbers, and the other part of it is where you go specific, right? So there was a point in my business where everybody in my business was pretty much older than me. Right, it was good because older folks bring the market, and then the other part I go, you know what? I want some athletes in my team, right? And so I started putting it out there, and I started attracting it. So I went specific. Does that make sense? And what's awesome is they brought the energy, right? And now I got a balance of energy and youth at the same time with the wisdom of the old. You pair it up together, makes a perfect business. You guys with me?
Yes.
And so they brought the energy, right? So if you're like, let's say if there's something specifically you're looking for, right? Then when you're asking someone who do you know, then you go, hey, who do you know that's great in sales? Who do you know that was a teacher? Right? Who's some of the most enthusiastic person you know? Who do you know that's ambitious? Right? Who do you know that's entrepreneur-minded? Who do you know that's business-minded? You guys with me?
Yeah.
If you're looking for business owners, so at a certain point in your business, you're looking for different type of people, right? And it changes. So after I found a bunch of sports guys, right? After I found a bunch of athletes, right? Then I go, okay, right? All right. I want somebody that speaks Chinese in my business, right? And then I start putting it out there, right? Putting it out there, and then you attract it. So there's general, and then there's what? I go, man, and then the next thing is, man, I want a young couple in their 30s, right? Married, solid marriage, boom, I want to draft. So you start getting specific, because whatever it is, and the thing is, when we're not clear as to what we want, then we get everybody. But there's two types. There's the general, which you let the system, right? Because I was found through the system, right? I'm not like, when you're putting together your list, right? I want someone that's a total stud, right? Total confidence, da 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 da. I would not be on that list. But thank God there was general recruiting, and there wasn't a good thing. There was a balance of both. You guys feel me?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So in your phone calls, once you're clear as far as to what you're looking for, when you're making phone calls, they go, great, hey, I'm not interested. Well, I don't know how you can be interested about something you know nothing about, but, you know, anyways, our company is growing and expanding, and we're looking for some good, talented people. Well, who do you know? Who do you know that's a great athlete, right? Who do you know that right now that's currently in sales? Who do you know that owns their own business, right? Who do you know, who do you know, who do you know? So when I'm making phone calls, you guys, you don't, just because they say no, it doesn't mean it ends there. You can ask them for what? Referrals. Give your neighbor a high five, let them know, hey, I'm a referral nut. Go. And you guys, I became a referral nut in business because the day you stop getting referrals is the day your business dies. So guess what? I look for referrals everywhere, right? So in making phone calls, okay, great, you're not interested. I don't spend too much time to try and convince you. Great, well, who do you know? Right? This is what I'm looking for. Bam, bam, bam. Do you happen to know anybody that fits that criteria? Right? Same thing. When you're prospecting someone, how many guys are afraid to talk to people? Right? And so how many guys? I'll do this real quick. But how many guys never want to get rejected ever again? Yeah? Okay, you guys are not raising hands, so I'll keep it to myself. I'll keep it to myself. When you're prospecting, right? Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Right? When you're doing one-on-ones, right? And they tell you, hey, I'm not really interested. Well, great. Well, who do you know? Right? Who do you know? Great. Not you. If not you, then who? And sometimes when I'm even making phone calls, right? I go, hey, by the way, Diana, I'm looking for someone that's a pro. They're a professional. They're sharp. Because my company's growing and expanding, and we're looking for some good quality people. Who would you happen to know anybody that fits that criteria? You know what Diana's saying in her mind?
That's me.
Me. That's me. Right? And then go tell me, Diana. Me. Say me. Well, outside of you, then who? Right? Outside of you, then who? You guys, people want what they can't have, right? And so you gotta get them to fight and earn for it for a little bit. And same thing, you guys. Once you start valuing your time, you will start doing this, because you gotta value your time in order to do this. And you guys, and you can't be afraid to lose people you don't even have. You guys, we're only the #1 business platform. And you gotta believe in yourself and where you're going and in the future and all those things, and you gotta start valuing your time. Your clients, you gotta get 5 to 10 names. So you guess what, you guys? I'm saying referral nut because everywhere you go, you're getting names and numbers. That's how you stay in business, and that's how you grow your business, right? Our #1 inventory is what?
People.
It's people, right? We're not in automotive. We're not building cars. And if we were building cars, what's the raw material that needs to come in? Metal and plastic and rubber and right? Chips and whatever. What else? Right? And then right? Raw material comes into the factory. Out comes the other end is what? It's a car. Ferrari or however, whatever floats your boat, right? So in our business is we have raw material, which is names and numbers of people that come into our factory, and what comes out the other end, right? Outlets, right, which are licensed professionals that can move products across the kitchen table, and then what we call outlet openers, right, which are what we call SMDs and leaders that can what? Train and develop other leaders. You guys getting this?
Yes.
Okay. Am I boring you guys?
No.
Okay. And then in your business partners, you guys, the only way you guys, we talk about forming a top 25 list or a top 100 list. By the way, the outcome for that, you guys, is simply to make an impression in the people you know, right? Because a lot of times, like if you understood how we work, without you in the equation, your top 25 list means nothing. Without you in the equation, we need you in the equation. So the beauty of WFG, can I write on this thing?
Yes.
The beauty of WFG is the relationship between a trainee and what? And a trainer. So with what we call your warm market and all that stuff, what do you bring to the table? You're not bringing expertise or credibility. What you bring with your natural market is you bring what? Is you bring trust and relationship, right? That's what you bring to the table. Is trust and relationship. You guys, our outcome when we sit down with your natural market is we're not there to sell them anything. We're not there to so James. So James, when you come into business with me, by the way, your grand opening it could be a month from now or 60 days from now, right? But if you were to do a pre-grand opening, who would you invite down to your restaurant? Probably the people, whoever you know, the people you trust, and all those things. One, because you want some feedback, and you want some feedback from people you trust and respect. Does that make sense? And so these people, so same thing in our business, James. These people, our outcome, if the only thing, right? Here's what you're not going to get from me. You're not going to get high pressure sales. There's no crazy recruiting tactics. We're looking for people that are looking for us. But if you want help growing your business, right? What's your natural market? All we want them to do is we simply want to impress them of your association with our company. If none of them come into business with us, right? None of them become clients, but 100% of them, trust me, will be impressed with what we do. And once they're impressed, see, sometimes if you're going to be rich with the people you know, you would have been rich already. But sometimes it's not so much them about being in business with us, but what if we can gather 5 to 10 referrals each? And my number one job to you as a trainer is to develop you a whole new market. Is that how you approach a top 25? Right? My job is to build you a whole new market. So guess what, James? By the time we're done field training, you got 50 to 100 people for you to go see, right? Now we can edify you as a professional, because not only did you go through the system and get trained, right? Because you can learn the business through books and tapes and all those things, but the fastest way is you got me, right? You got a pro helping you in business, right? Willing and able to help you get from here to here. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. So we're a contact sport, are we?
Yes.
Okay. So turn to your neighbor next to you and you go, hey, I'm going to make more contacts. Go. All right, next thing, right? So contact sport, number 2, you got to fight for what you want. Right? You got to fight for what you want. It's not about what happens to us, but how we react to what happens for us. Change your meaning and then you change your life. So a lot of times, how many of you guys have had some instances that happen in our life that we didn't really like? Probably many, right? But in every situation, you guys, right, you can either get better or get bitter. But it's a choice you have to make, right? Whether you get bitter and better. And so there's times in my career I put this picture up there because it's the first contest I qualified, or one of the first retreats I qualified for, and I qualified #1, right? But I fought for what I want, right? Because I've been in a business, and right, there was a retreat prior to this too. I don't know if you remember this, Dean or James, but I didn't go, right? And I approached Dan, and he told me no, and all that stuff. And I remember breaking $10,000 in cash flow the first time ever, and I'm pretty fired up, and right, and I wanted to attend the retreat so bad, and right, and I didn't get a chance to go, and I go, right, and it just like, you might as well just take it like a knife and then just like put it in my heart and then turned it. Right? How many of you guys wanted something so bad that it was taken from you, or you weren't allowed to go, or whatever the case may be? Yeah. And so you can either get bitter or get better, right? And so if you want something in the you guys, if anything you want in the business, you gotta what? You gotta go after, right? Things are not gonna come to you. You gotta go get it. Yeah, you gotta go get it. One of the biggest shifts, you guys, you have to make. Like, how many guys are dead serious? You want to make something happen out of yourself, out of this business, right? So a couple shifts you got to make. I'm jumping ahead, but let me just give it to you now since I'm on that train of thought, right? A couple things I want to give you. One is you got to shift from an employee mentality thinking person to an entrepreneur. So let me explain. So an employee, the way an employee thinks is more of an entitlement, right? So just because I show up, I'm supposed to get paid, right? Just because I show up, I'm supposed to get paid. Well, in the entrepreneur world, right, showing up is not enough. Showing up is not enough. Once you show up, you gotta go get it. By the way, in the employee world too, most people only really productively work, on the average, work productive 4 hours. So they waste 4 hours of their employer's money, right? Messing around and doing other shit, right? But they really do, right? And so it's only 4 hours of productive time, right? And so in the entrepreneur world, right, the results show whether you mess around or not.
Right.
It's clear, because the results you produce is a direct reflection of the effort you put out. So, and then guess what? An entrepreneur world takes 100%, write this down, ownership and responsibility. Right? Ownership and responsibility. So guess what? You win here because of you. It's not because of your SMD, your leadership, your CEO. You win here because of you. Plain and flat out, plain and simple. You win because of you. Right? So at some point, I have to make a decision. I go, hey, right? Everything could be okay, but I gotta get me okay. Right? I gotta get me moving. Has nothing to do with the outside forces. It has to do with me. So what am I not doing? Right? What do I need to? Right? I have had many conversations with myself in the mirror, and you go, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to adjust? What do we got to do to get to the next level? You guys follow me?
Yes.
And so ownership and responsibility, you guys, is the way in business. And so what I started to do, you guys, early on, is I go, okay, great, right? I was doing some coaching with. Guess what I was doing on a Friday night? I wasn't in the club. I don't know what that looks. I haven't been in there in a long time, right? But there was one next to me. I had dinner, right? But I was doing a coaching session, and I was in shorts and flip flops and a t-shirt, right? Because I don't care, right? But it's pretty cool, right? But there was a bunch of people dressed going to the club next door, right? Next door. But anyways, the conversation I was having with that person, right, is there's this guy, right, which is a person that walks, talks, and behaves like the person that you're doing now, and you're producing a certain type of results, right? And then there's this guy, which is the person you're chasing down. I said the fastest way. I said it's not so much because you keep asking me how do I do it? How do I do it? You keep asking all the how-to questions. I said, it's not, like with you, it's not really the how-to, because you're actually very skilled, right? So I was giving some feedback. I said, you're actually very skilled. It's not the skill you lack. I said, Tony Robbins talks about, right? He talks about the triad, but he talks about the state in which you live in. I said, well, if you want to change your life, you got to change the state. Not the state of Utah or Denver. I'm talking about there's also a state in which you live in. And you can live in a negative state, or you can live in a what? in an optimistic, moving forward state, right? And the way you control the state in which you live in is is your focus, your language. I can already tell what's going on in what's going on in your head or what your focus is based on the language you put out there. Right? I said, man, your language sucks. Your language is always referencing to the past. I said, there's a reason why the rear view mirror is this small and the front of the front shield is this big. So do you drive your car looking at the rear view mirror? Well, how the hell are you driving your career looking at the freaking rear view mirror? Then guess what? You're constantly going to be looking back, and you won't be moving forward. Or if you do move forward, you're constantly crashing into a wall. That's what's going on with your career. That's why you haven't gone anywhere. Anyways. All right. And then your physiology, however you spell that, right?
PHYS.
Okay, thank you. Right? But that tells you don't need to know how to spell to make a lot of money here. I don't have a degree, I don't have a PhD, but yet we make more than those with PhDs. Right? And so it has nothing to do, right? It has everything to do with your heart. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. You can win here. You can do it. Trust me. But anyways, so I said one of the conversation I had, I go, I said the type of things you focus on, the language, the physiology. I said you got to start walking, talking, acting like you're going to Hawaii. But they were telling me the goals that they wanted, right? Becoming S&D, getting their ring, and all that stuff. I said you got to start talking like that guy, right? Stop talking like this guy, because you can't have this type of goals still acting like this guy or this gal. You got to start walking and talking and behaving like this person, right? So same thing, Vanessa. Whatever your goals are, right? You put it out there, and guess what? You go, man. How does that person walk, talk, act? How do they behave when they walk in like this person? Well, there's this person. So every time you walk into a room or before you walk into the BPM, okay, this is the Vanessa that has. I'm not saying you don't, I'm just using an example, right? But has no goals and no dreams and all that stuff. But this is the Vanessa that has dreams and goals and vision and da-da-da. Shit, I'm going to walk in like this person, right? And you walk into the room. People around you, you go, wow, what happened to you? I mean, let me ask you, does this person look like he's going anywhere?
No.
But this person, right? You go, wow. Does that change everything?
Yes.
I want you to apply it. Try it on. Just try it for today. Try it for today. Write down some goals and some, right? Because when a man or woman has purpose, man, shit, you can tell. You can tell. And I want you to start moving and behaving like, wow, you're a man or a woman on a mission. And then you start to take yourself seriously. And then everybody takes you seriously. And then when you make that phone call, you go, yeah, we'll sit down with you. Because they know you're serious about it. And so, your state. Got it?
Got it.
Yep. Oh, it's 11 o'clock. Wow. All right, a couple more things and we'll wrap it up. Yes?
Yes.
I'll open up for a question. So, next thing is you got to have vision, right? Get some clarity as far as what you want out of this deal. Right? And you guys, do something that's like, because you gotta be ready to climb from peak to peak here. So wherever you're at, right? So if you're brand new, like go get 3:30 done. Well, Nate, I need some coaching. Well, go get 3:30 and then we'll do some coaching. Does that make sense? Guess what, you guys? A lot of us we have a tendency to seek for advice all the time, right? Let me write this down in your notes. You can only coach action. You can't coach inaction. I can only coach action. I can't coach inaction. You guys with me? And so when we coach, you got to go apply. If you're constantly asking for stuff but you're not applying it, then there's no purpose for coaching, right? But part of getting you to move. So there's two types of people in the room. It's either man, I'm crystal clear, I know what I want, I have vision, I have clarity, and all that stuff, and I'm ready to move on to it. And there's two types of people. It's either you've worked on your identity so much, where your results are waiting to catch up to what you've worked on. The other side is, right, you've overworked your identity. I doubt that that's the latter of the two, right? And so I think most people is like, hey, great, I need to work on, right, my identity and where I'm going and all those things. And then I gotta work my butt off to catch up. And by the way, the fastest way to get you to feel like you deserve that you're gonna win here is just to work. You know, it's funny. By the way, congratulations, Steve. We have a EMD and Up meeting, right, in WFG that's happening in convention, right? And Steve's one of the qualifiers. Anybody else in here, right, that's going to that meeting, right? Give it up for Jim and Dean and Velvet. Give it up for them, you guys. Isn't that crazy? How many SMDs are in the company? Like what, 4,000, 5,000, right? And what's crazy is, isn't it crazy how little work we can do and then qualify to be there? Like when you really look at it, there's really a few people that really work their tail off. And then all it is if I make a decision to go work my butt off, I'll beat 80% of the people. You guys know that's really what it is. The longer I was in business, you guys, the more I realized, oh wow, I can beat a bunch of people just by working hard. And I'll beat 80% of them just by working hard. And I might not be the most talented guy, right? Whatever, right? But I can outwork. I can work. I'm going to work hard anyways at the job. Why don't I work hard here? So I go beat 80% of the people just by flat out working hard. Right? 10% is at least knowing what you're doing and having, right, having knowledge and skill and knowing what you're talking about. Right? Is only 10%. And then guess what? Also, you know what I also realized? The top 10% of the company, right? As Dan always talks about, that's a dogfight. It's who wants it the most, who's willing to get up a little bit earlier, right? Who's willing to do one more phone call. But guess what, you guys? You beat 90% of the people just by working hard and then knowing what you're doing. That means knowing what you're doing, that means you dive into your craft. Because it takes 10,000 hours to become a master. Some people say it takes 5 to 10 years. Well, you know what's awesome about WFG? The next 2 to 4 years, you can become a master. Who says it needs to take 10 years? The next 2 to 4 years, you can dive into your craft. You guys, which when I was younger, right? I see a lot of young studs here. Yes, sir. Huh? Right. So when I was younger, you guys, and many of you guys will probably remember this. You guys, I dove into the business. I didn't date until I became an SMD. Right? I didn't date until I got literally close to my ring already. Right? But the first 2 to 5 years, you guys, I got rid of my TV. I dove myself into a bunch of seminars, listened to a bunch of audiobooks. I didn't take this, for me, right? This wasn't just another meeting. This wasn't just another meeting. I tape recorded, I went back home, took notes on it, right? And I was becoming a master of my craft. Like I work harder on me than I did on the business. You guys, because I wanted to win. Right? I wanted to change my life. I hated being broke. I hated not having options. I hated driving a car that didn't have any power. I hated having to choose from, like when you walk into a restaurant, right? Going from the right of the menu to the left. Right? First I figure out the price and then I figure out how hungry I am. I go, at this place, I'm not that hungry. Does that make sense? You guys, I hated all that stuff. I remember one day my dad was complaining about his work and talking about, oh, this and that. And then finally I got tired of all his complaining about his work. Right? I go, why don't you just quit then? Well, quit. If you don't like it, quit. And understand, most people don't have any options. But we have the WFG platform. And I go, Dad, I know what you're worried about, right? I'll take care of whatever money you're making over there. I got it. But it's nice to have freaking options. It's nice to be able to do that for the people you care about. But at some point, I dove myself into my craft because I was tired of the crap. So let this be not just another meeting that you attended. And I know we got a ton of meetings. Nate, why do I gotta go to another meeting? And another one, twice a week? And then convention? And then fast arts, like Wealth Bowl, like why so many meetings? Because we hope that you're a different person every time you show up. Because things are not taught, they are caught. But you gotta be present to catch it. And when you think you know it all, we'll pray for you. Right? Don't we sit down with clients that think they know it all? Yeah. You can't do much about it, but you pray for them. Alright. You guys ready to get in the game?
Yes.
Get in the game?
Yeah.
At some point you gotta decide, hey, I'm gonna get my Tushy off the bench, right? And I gotta get in the game. And then just, you guys just continue moving forward. What's awesome about, you guys, we're in a very forgiving business, right? Why? Because you can, every day is a brand new day. You can always start new, right? You guys, we're in a very non-judgmental business, very forgiving, and you can start brand new every single day. You go, hey, I understand that I haven't been willing, and it's not, you guys, it's not how long you've been in WFG, but it's the day you decide to go do it. You guys with me?
Yes.
It's the day you decide, and it's very forgiving. So the next month you can decide, hey, this is it, this is the month, right? I'm dead serious now. We're gonna make some things happen, right? Or this year, right? But every day you can make that choice, and so okay. Any question? I'll draw some stuff up here and then we'll wrap it up with that because I want you thinking at that level, right? But before I go into that, any questions from the room? Any questions you guys have? Yes, Vivian.
When was the lowest point of your career and how did you get out of it?
You know, there's many low points. you know when people say, right, the journey to the top is actually, there's a lot of lonely moments, right? There's a lot of painful moments. And it's different. It's different. It's different at every stage, right? It's different at every stage. And so, like for me in the beginning, you guys, I just, right? Like I told you, I struggled in school. So one of them was it took me a year, you guys, to get the first paycheck. It took me a year to get all my licenses. And back then, you couldn't do anything with a life license. You had to have all of it, right? And so I struggled through that, even to a point, Vivian, where I saw therapy. Right, my mom got me to see, like, hey, we can do it. Like, it was that bad. Does that make sense? Like, I struggled through it.
How many years ago was that?
That was like 14 years ago. And then there's that part of it, right? And then there's times where people you pour your heart and energy into quit on you. You know. And so that, you know, those moments are tough, right? But you gotta just constantly remind yourself where you're going, right? And you know, focus on where you're going, not where you're at. And that's why you can't get too emotionally high and too emotionally low, right? The state even can kill, and you gotta learn how to respond to things, right? You gotta learn how to get better when things happen to you versus responding to get bitter. So anytime something happens to me, Vivian, I go, okay, great, what can I do better? Right? What can I do better? I assess the situation, I go, okay, what was, right? And I take full ownership and responsibility. Even if it's the other person's fault, I take ownership. Like, okay, what could I have done better? Right? What's lacking in my leadership? Or what's doing this? But I always put the thing on me. Because I'm the only person that can change my life, not the other person. If the minute I start to point to somebody, I give my power away. I give my power away. The minute I start to blame someone or talk about someone or, right, point the finger elsewhere outside of me, I've given somebody else my power. And so when anything happens to you, it always goes where? Here. And so I look within, not out. I don't know if that helps, but there's maybe more in a one-on-one. You share more things. Yes?
talked about identity.
What's your name?
Warner.
Warner. Last name?
There.
Oh, okay. Very good. Christopher, tell me about you.
So,
Okay.
you talked about identity. A big Christopher preaches this a lot. It's having affirmations for identity. Would you mind sharing what your affirmations are?
Yeah, but you gotta, you gotta have affirmations that, so whatever, for me, whatever it is that, because it constantly change, whatever I needed help on is what I put in my affirmations, but I use it as a brainwashing mechanism, right? So at one point, I was horrible at getting referrals. I go, man, I'm a referral king, I'm a referral nut. So whatever it is I struggled with, right, I struggled getting out of bed. I go, so what are my affirmations? As I leap out of bed with excitement and courage while failure sleeps another hour, right? And then guess what? I made it fun. It wasn't just words like, oh, I'm a man, I'm the man. I'm a champion. Right? So I go, instead of like, whatever, let's say I want to get physically fit, right? I don't just say, I say words that excite me, like, I'm an Adonis. Right? Now I'm like, all right, I'm an Adonis, right? So you put words into your affirmation, right, that get you excited. Don't use words that doesn't move you. You guys feel me? And we all have certain words that move us. So whatever it is that you're trying to change, make sure you're careful with the words you put on there. And then put it in a form of past tense. It means as if it's already done. You with me?
Yes.
So a lot of times when we put affirmations, give me an example. See, I've brainwashed myself so much that I can't even remember. Like, give me an example.
I am dominant.
Like, I'm going to the top. Why don't you say, I am at the top? Right? I'm gonna do this, right? Or I am dominant. This no. Or yeah, that I am is a powerful word though. I am dominant. That's a good one. Versus what other things? I will become. Why don't you just become already? Right?
I want to.
So just make sure your affirmations, when you do stuff like that, you just do it in a form where it's already done. You do things where you're in the knowing versus, oh, I'm going to get there one day. Right, so do it or you're already there. You guys with me?
Yes.
Okay. Does that answer? This is different because I can say my affirmations, but does that have to do anything with you?
No, the mindset, the reason we do it.
Oh, okay. So you got it already,
Yeah.
right? Okay. All right. Anything else? Yes, sir.
We've been enjoying your inspirational quotes and your sense of humor. I was just wondering, did you develop this as you were in the business, or did you go to some courses to achieve that, or how did that come about?
So you know what I think. Thank you, Mohammed. You know what I think in business, we become a product of our environment. Our environment, and I think we all have something natural within us. But I think all of that, I think majority of that stuff is something that could be developed, right? I think we can all develop our sense of humor. We can develop our intensity. We can develop our will to win, right? And so the saying, "Are leaders born or made?" I think they're made and you develop them, right? And so, but I'm a product of BPM after BPM after BPM after BPM after convention after convention after fast start, and then every now and then, Mohammed, I'll go to Tony Robbins seminar. Okay, boom, like back on my WFG track, right? I'll go to Tom Hopkins, and I'm back on track, right? The good thing about when other people go do it, like I attended other leadership stuff and all those things. But the awesome thing, like with WFG, is we have an environment that we can go back to and implement that craft. Other people, they go to like, because ultimately, you are a product of your environment. Right? So some people go get jacked up at Tony Robbins, right? And then they go back to their work, right? And everybody at their work is negative, and sooner or later, if they're not strong enough, there's a word, they succumb, right?
Yeah.
Boom, to their environment. You guys follow me?
Yeah.
And so that's why you got to be really careful, right, with your friends and associations and people you're around with and all that stuff. And so, like certain people, you guys in the family, they're family. It doesn't mean I got to listen to them, right? It doesn't mean I listen or get mentored. Right? And so, all right. Any questions?
You mentioned about not being rejected again, not feeling rejected again, no one raised their hand because they didn't get your question. If they knew what you were asking, they all would have raised.
Oh, okay.
How do we feel about how do we become where we don't feel like we're ever going to be there?
Okay, all right. We'll get to yes.
In question to your referrals, so when you have like your prospect, your phone calls that you're calling, your one-on-ones, do you handle it differently when say they have referrals and contacting them? Is it pretty much the same thing? Hey, who do you know? They give you numbers, and you have them reach out on behalf if it's someone new, or just in that aspect to really be the most efficient as you're making those calls or whatnot. And does that kind of make sense?
Talking about you making the phone call or the person?
Both. Like when you're going about that process of getting the referrals, you ask them, hey, who do you know? Yeah, I know somebody, and you get that referral. What's a good?
You guys have the Rich Tolly, the very simple one? Like, hey, I trust these people, da da da. It's like one sentence that they can say. It's not like a whole list of things for you to reply to. Do you have that? No. No. Okay. You have it, Steve? No. Yeah. Okay. Who's your S&D?
Dean.
Oh, okay. Do you have that? Yeah. It's a simple. It's three sentences. So I give out a referral to a client, and then it's 3 sentences. So I think it's 4. So you pick which one relates more to you, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Because you gotta dumb this business down, right? Keep it very simple, right? If you give people a long list, like they're not gonna do it. So get one. Which one relates to you the most? Okay, these referrals. Can you give them this one sentence when you make that phone call? Like, okay, good, awesome. And one of them is like, hey, right? I've come into some information, right? They're good. I trust these people. I think you should talk to them. Because trust is the barrier of whether people do business with you, right? So if someone tells them, hey, I trust them and you should go talk to them, that's enough. So, you get it from the, right? So, yes?
So, earlier...
Last one, and then I'm going to rock and roll with what Dean talked about, and I want to wrap up with something.
When you started out, you said you were introverted and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you believe that breaking out of your comfort zone, like when we were feeling uncomfortable starting out, breaking out of that comfort zone is what led you to your success. Because if you let your discomfort control you, you would have just been held back and stuck, right?
That's why for me, one of the best things that what I learned from Tony Tyler is knowing how to control my state. Because you guys, still to this day, I'm still an introvert. Like I may get up here and put on a show, but after that, I'm actually off to myself. Like I'm one of those guys. Like how many guys? Like I'm comfortable in my own skin. Like I can go watch a movie by myself. Right? I can go do things by myself. Right? Well, opposite, my brother always needs to have a big entourage with him. Like, which kid? Any kid. He's got like 4 kids, right? Which kid? Any kid. Right? And he's inviting his brother, this and that. Like Paul always have to have an entourage, right? And then he, and then I told him that I watched the movie by myself. He looks at me like weird. Right? But so I'm actually an introvert. The thing is for me, I care more about, like even early on in the business, so one of the biggest things, like if I'm an introvert, one of the biggest things I controlled early on is my state, which is your focus, your language, your physiology, right? And so if I'm in a negative, like if I'm sad or negative or frustrated, typically what's your body look like? Your body looks, we know how to, like we're not depressed, we do depression. Right? How do we do depression? How many of you guys, when you wake up in the morning, like it's hard to get up and all that stuff? Because our physiology is an all-time low. When we're in bed, that's typically when we're the most emotional. Because your physiology is the all-time most vulnerable, and you're laying down. You follow me, Tyler? And so, but if I want to change my focus, man, let me get moving right away. So part of that is your ritual. You gotta do something physical, whether you like biking, swimming, right, running, walking, all that stuff. So that became part of my ritual every single day. I start to formulate, right, gratitude and vision and all those things in my daily morning, while I'm walking, while I'm hiking, or while I'm running or jogging, whatever the case might be, or I'm at the gym. I'm programming my vision and my gratitude and all those things. But I wanted to control this up front, and then I know that, okay, it's either I make a decision to stay in comfort, but I cared more about where I'm going in my winning. So anytime, like even when I prospect to this day, like I gotta shake myself out of my introvert self and go, all right, let's go.
You're Adonis.
I want Adonis. Got it? Does that answer?
Yeah.
So it's still a recipe that I do, and I make a conscious decision to change. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So let's get to these questions. So because we're a contact sport, right?
Yes.
I'm using all your paper. My bad.
All good.
Okay. So real quick, I'm staying a little bit. We're done. I promise. All right. In a few. In an hour. Just kidding.
In and out.
So number one, right? This is a contact sport. This is what we call meeting people. So how many of you guys never want to get rejected?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, this is it right here. I'm telling you guys.
Everyone says yes.
All right, everybody said yes. So write down commonality and commonality. That's the other word I was looking for. Commonality or compliments. Commonality, write that down. Commonality or compliments. And so when you're out and about, I found commonality or I found something to compliment. But it's got to come from the sincere place, right? So when I'm out and about, whether I'm at a gas station, right? If I like the car, I go, man, that's an awesome car. Or, right, I'm at Starbucks and I see somebody reading a book. I said John Maxwell, phenomenal book, right? I've read a bunch of his stuff. But find commonality. If they're wearing a shirt and they go, right, they work for Ford, I go, hey, right, just find something in common with, or find something to compliment them with, right? Because here's what this stuff does. What do you think this does? It builds connection, but it brings down their wall. The Berlin Wall goes down. Right? Their wall goes down, right? When you pay someone a compliment, right? Because most people are not used to being complimented.
Right.
You guys feel me? And most people are not used to somebody smiling back at them, being nice to them, paying them a compliment, right? Like I was at Home Depot the other day, and I go, hey, by the way, what's your name, and then what's his name, right? Because I said, you guys have unbelievable service. You guys are pretty. You guys are sharp. You guys are incredible, right? So compliment. The second thing you do, right? Second thing is what? Second thing is you ask enough questions. You ask enough questions to get to one main thing, to find out whether they are dissatisfied or they're happy with what they do. Right. So I said, hey, Dean, you look pretty sharp, man. What's your shirt stand for? I said, it says the Life
Like others.
United in Purpose. What does that mean?
It's our organization. We want to help people just live a better life.
No way.
That's what you'd be interested in?
No way. That's amazing. That's amazing, right? I said, there's not a lot of people that I come across that actually lives life on purpose, that actually knows what they want and is directed. So how long you been doing that for now?
About 7 years.
No way. 7 years. You love it, enjoy it.
Absolutely, I love it.
If we're doing it for 7 years, you created it, right?
Absolutely.
So that's awesome, man. And so, by the way, here's my card. I'm in the financial industry. If you ever need any help when it comes to, right, making more money or knowing what to do with it, give me a call. All right, awesome. So guess what? I'll never get rejected because he loves what he does. So I'm not going to try and recruit someone that loves already what he does. So I'm going to ask enough questions to find out whether they're dissatisfied or happy, right? You guys following me?
Yes.
And then now, thirdly, right? And how many of you guys never want to get asked all the questions?
Yeah.
So now I leverage it off to somebody else, right? So I go, let's say the opposite. Dean, you're dissatisfied.
Yep.
Life builder sucks.
It sucks.
It's horrible. I've been doing it for 7 years.
Yeah.
Dude, how do you manage to keep doing it for 7 years if you didn't really like it?
That's all I do.
Really, no?
All I do.
Got it. You open to bigger, better things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The reason why I ask is I have a good friend of mine. His name is Steve Coutet, and he's in charge of expansion. The company is doing really well. It's growing very fast. And he told me to keep an eye out for some very sharp people. And you struck me as someone that's very sharp. And what's the best way you can get in contact with you?
If I call me,
Oh, okay. What's that?
826-3443.
Okay. Dean, right?
Yeah,
Hey, by the way, Dean, pleasure to meet you.
absolutely.
Do me a favor, Steve's extremely busy, and I'll put in a good word for you. Can't promise you anything, but I'll make sure I put in a good word for you. If he happens to call you and he calls you and you happen to miss his call, like I said, he's extremely busy. Please make sure it's the first phone call you return back.
Okay,
Because I don't know that he'll give you a second call if you don't return the first one.
absolutely.
All right? Okay, sounds good. Hey, all right, I'll connect you guys.
All right.
Ask me what is it. Like, throw some questions at me.
What is it?
Well, that's a good question to ask Steve. Give me more questions. That's a really good question to ask him. Ask about position, money, all that stuff.
Can I make a lot of money there?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask him. All I know he's doing really well. The company's growing and expanding, but it's a good question to ask him.
Okay, great.
Yes, got it? So I found out whether they're dissatisfied, and then I give my message, but I'm leveraging the person. So now all I gotta remember is the script, is the thing I went over with Dean. So I did that stuff in the beginning, and guess what? I wanted everybody around me to be good at what? Getting names and numbers, right? And I'm not I can easily make the phone call. I said, hey, I heard a lot of great things about you, right? I heard that you're very sharp. I told you I'm in charge of expansion. We're looking for some good quality people. Quite frankly, I don't necessarily know whether you'd be a fit for us or whether we'd be a fit for you. Right? But I heard your background is in management. We've had a ton of success working with people from your background in management, right? And a friend of mine, Nate Ireton, told me that you struck him as a very sharp person. And yes, I did tell him to keep an eye out for some very sharp people. And so, by the way, I got some. Is mornings or evenings typically better for you?
Evening.
Evenings? Okay, great. 6 or 8? 8, perfect. Okay, look forward to meeting you. Right? I mean, you guys see that? So now I make that phone call. He was an in-gatherer. And then I got to a point, you guys, then I became more confident in my craft and what I did. So guess what now? I don't have to leverage Dean. But I still can, but I don't. Right? But I can, or I don't. Right? And I go, hey, I'm in charge of expansion, right? We're opening up location number 10, 11, 12, and we're looking for some good quality people. Right? And we've had a ton of success working with your people and background in real estate. Right, a ton of success working with people from your background. But are you open to looking at are you open to take a look at your options? Are you married to what you're doing?
Always keep the options open.
Awesome, right? Because that's the only one. Huh?
What is it?
That's a great question. I don't really have a lot of time right now, but we can talk more about it. Right? We can talk more about it. Because obviously this is not the time and place you're fighting. I'm in a hurry. I gotta get somewhere. But what's the best way I can reach you? Right? Do you have a card on you? Right? Okay, great. You guys follow me?
Yeah.
And so guess what? I never have to get rejected, you guys. But I gotta ask enough questions, you guys, to find out whether they're happy or dissatisfied with what they're doing. And then once I do that, then I can give them leverage message. Got it?
Yes.
All right. Last thing. This one is cellular. You know what's crazy, right? You go from training associates. Because you guys, you can do it. You just gotta believe you can do it, and it's easier than it sounds. Right? So training associate is where you start in the company. EVC is the top of the company. Right? Here's what I believe. Somebody that makes a decision can really go from training associate to EVC in the next 24 months. Right? The next 24 months. And you got to go through enough people, right? There's a saying in our business, right? You got to get 50 new associates to produce one SMD. You got to go through 50. And it's got to happen within a 90 to 120 day window. It can't happen during a year because a year is way too long, right? The beauty of our business is you can compress time frame, collapse activity, and get some stuff rolling for you. That makes sense? So in order for a rocket to get off the ground, it needs a lot of what? Force and speed. In order for an airplane, right? My younger brother was a pilot. In order for that airplane to take off from the ground, it can't take off from a standstill, right?
Right.
It needs to pick up some speed. Well, your business needs to pick up some speed in order for it to take off the ground. 8-speed filters, it's not 8 slow filters, right? So that means you got to do this business with some speed, right? And it doesn't take off without speed. So you got to act with urgency. You got to do things faster, walk faster, talk faster, do your one-on-ones faster, do everything that you do here faster. You follow me? And what happens there, right? So with that number. But check this out. Well, let's break down. So all I really need, watch this, right? So I become SMD, which is not that big of a deal, right? You guys, it's not a monument to climb anymore, right? It's not that big of a deal to become SMD, right? But you just gotta fall in love with the numbers, right? So right, you can't be trying to squeeze 5 people and become an SMD. You gotta have more. You gotta have a draft. You gotta draft for more people. You guys with me?
Right.
And so, and there's many people out there looking for opportunity. There's a bunch of people driving Uber, right? I mean, right? I was going through the mall the other day, and there was an Uber stand, and you go, hey, would you be interested in making an extra $400 over the weekend? I said, that's awesome, but not for me, right? Because I can make way more than $400 in a weekend. In fact, I can make way more than $400 in an hour, right? I've had $10,000 hours, I've had $20,000 hours, I had $1,000 an hour. Does that make sense? You guys, we have the #1 business platform. But check this out, right? So let's say that's you and 9 SMDs. So 9 times 50. So like, can you do this the next 12 months? Yeah. Right? 9 times 50. Watch this. Watch this. You get to the top, and in the company, right? You guys at WFG, what's the average EDC income? It's at 1.1 million. Is the average income? 1.1 million average income, right? So check this out. You and 9 SMDs. Let's just you need 2.25 million points, right? Because you're gonna work too. But what's 10 divided by 2.25 million? That's 225,000. That's for the year, you guys. For the year. For the year. Guess what? So divided by 12, what is that? 22,500? Huh? Oh, okay. What is it then? What is it then? Some math people, come on. Okay, let's round it up. 19,000 points. Right? That's a month. What's 19 divided by 4?
Let's call it 25. Just call it 5.
4.8. Let's round it up to 5,000 points. A week. Divided by 7. 5,000 divided by 7.
800? 700.
So 700 points a day. 700 points a day. So check this out. 10 people, you guys. 10 people. 10 serious people. 10 doing 700 points a day. 5,000 a week. Let's say 10 people in here, dialed in. I'm laser focused. 5,000 points a week. 20,000 points a month. At the end of 12 months, we do 2.5 million. You go from training associate to the top of the company because you found 10 people to go do 5,000 points a week. And you position yourself to be one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most powerful prestige position in American business today. Is that ridiculously ridiculous? So a lot of times, you guys, one of the things strategy gives us, strategy gives us believability that we can do it. That we can do it. When you break it down to the ridiculous, hopefully, Warren, you're not just thinking about SMD. Hopefully you're thinking about becoming one, but finding 10 others with you and getting to the top of the company. Because really, when you look at it, it's not that hard. When you break it down to the ridiculous. The hard part is going through people and then learning how to manage your emotions to get you to a point to get you to the top. You guys got me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I extended my stay. I appreciate your time. Hope you guys got some value from being here today. Go kick some butt, you guys. Go win. Let's go take Team Freedom to the next level. And we'll see you guys at convention. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And we'll see you at the top. Thank you.